Good day, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Military and Foreign Affairs Network. I am your host, the voice of reason. In today's episode, we're going to continue our ongoing coverage of the war between the Russian Federation and the Ukraine, and we're also going to have a look at Iranian and Hezbollah preparations for its attack on Israel. Now, first, we want to look at what is happening on the ground northeast of Sumy, southwest of Kursk. So the Ukrainians continue combat operations. They appear to be heading in a direction towards a power generation facility just to the west of the city of Kursk. Now look, the territory that the Ukrainians are currently operating in against the Russians is very wide open, expansive terrain that is ideal for armored and mechanized operations. Now, the problem the Ukrainians are running into is the Russians are simply utilizing holding formations at key terrain features or towns and villages to pause Ukrainian operations and then attack Ukrainian formations with Lancet drones and ground attack aircraft. So the Ukrainians do not have an air force. And I've talked about this before, and this is one of the key advantages the Russians currently have, and especially in these wide open environments, these wide open spaces where there's not a lot of trees nor foliage, but wide open steppes. The Russians are taking advantage of this terrain and attacking the Ukrainian formations, trying to continue to drive deeper into the Russian Federation. At this point, it appears the Russians are not really interested in the need or the desire to deploy large ground formations to stop the Ukrainian military. The Russians appear to be looking at a strategy that will eventually be designed to cut off Ukrainian forces inside of Russia and then allow the Russian Air Force and the Russian drone forces to take care of Ukrainian combat units that remain inside of the Russian Federation. And then at some point, we anticipate the Russians will bring in heavy artillery and then use that heavy artillery to destroy the remaining Ukrainian infantry units and armored fighting vehicles that are inside the Russian Federation. Again, we still believe that this operation by the Ukrainians is really designed to distract media attention from what is happening in the southeastern parts of the Ukraine, specifically to the northwest of Avdiivka and Donetsk, where Russian forces continue to drive deeper and deeper into Ukrainian territory, seize control, and take control of Ukrainian towns. And we anticipate that is going to continue. We don't believe, again, that these operations in Kursk are a real threat to any ongoing Russian military operations. If you look at the terrain that the Ukrainians are operating in, they are simply operating in vast plains and steppes. They are not taking control of major terrain features, major cities, major towns. That is not happening. It would be the same as if in the Midwestern United States, a foreign adversary was operating in the middle of Kansas, where there's no cities. Obviously, the U.S. Air Force would deploy forces and then destroy those forces operating in these vast plains and open spaces. And that's exactly what the Russians are doing. So we'll continue to watch this and cover this, but we don't believe it's going to result in a Ukrainian conquest of Kursk. We don't believe the Ukrainians are going to take control of this power facility. The Russians are eventually going to stop the Ukrainian drive and then destroy the Ukrainian military that is operating in these areas. That is what is going to happen. Now, the preparations for an Iranian attack on Israel. Now, obviously, we are seeing preparations, and major preparations, indeed, for a large-scale missile attack by Iran a large-scale drone and missile attack by Hezbollah, and quite possibly an attack by the Houthis as well, down here in the south. Now, we have also heard that regular Iranian Revolutionary Guards ground forces are also being deployed into Syria and Lebanon, and they could be used in ongoing military operations against the Israelis, especially if the Israelis decide to destroy or attempt to destroy Hezbollah in southern Lebanon. We also believe that there could be infiltration strikes by Hezbollah and Iranian Revolutionary Guards, Quds forces, special operations forces, to try to infiltrate inside of Israel through tunnel networks already established previously and attack Israeli towns and villages across the border inside of northern Israel. Now, what we're also hearing is that the Iranian military, especially the Revolutionary Guards and Hezbollah, or at least the military arm of Hezbollah, would like to go ahead and launch this military operation. Now, what we're also hearing is that the Israeli Mossad, the Israeli military, has reached out to third parties, and they have let the Iranian political leadership know that, hey, if you launch this attack, and we see you are preparing this attack, and we kind of have an idea of what you're going to do and how you're going to do it, if you do this, we're going to come after you directly. And what they mean by that, they're going to go after the political leadership, the civilian political leadership, the mullahs, the theocratic leadership of Iran. They've also indicated they are going to go after, quote-unquote, things important to the political leadership of Iran and its theocratic leadership as well. Now, what does that mean? What does that mean? Well, we don't know. We can only assume that the Israelis will launch military operations against the civilian leadership, just like it attacked the head of Hamas in Tehran. I think the Israelis right now are telling the Iranian political leadership, we're going to do the same thing to you. If you launch this attack against us, we are going to decapitate your political leadership, or at least we're going to try to. At the same time, the Israelis are also going to try to go after things important, quote-unquote, important to the political leadership. Now, what is important to a political leader? Well, maybe you, the viewer, can answer that. Is it friends? Is it family? It's difficult to say. But obviously, they have done something, they meaning the Israelis, have done something to cause the Iranian leadership to at least temporarily hit the pause button and rethink what they're doing. At the same time, there is some very robust combat capacity by the United States being moved into the region to support the Israeli armed forces. That is what they're being moved into the region for. We have seen military units being deployed into Jordan. We have seen military units being deployed into the Eastern Mediterranean, weapon systems designed to shoot down Hezbollah and Iranian missile systems. At the same time, we are hearing about cruise missile, nuclear-capable cruise missile systems, subsurface systems being redeployed that have the ability to launch 100 Tomahawk cruise missiles against targets of interest inside of Iran. But again, I want to emphasize this, that the Israelis sent a message to the Iranians. If you do this, you are going to pay a price. It's not going to be like last time, where the Israelis held back. The Israelis essentially did nothing during the last attack, and part of the reason why that occurred was the Israelis really did not suffer any sort of damage by these Iranian strikes. And in all likelihood, it probably was not a good optic for the Iranians in terms of the Israeli capability of interdicting these inbound Iranian missile systems. Now, at the same time, the Iranians fully understand that it is going to have to be a much broader in scope military operation to damage the state of Israel, meaning that in all probability, military operations will kick off with Hezbollah launching thousands of rockets towards Israel designed to deplete Iron Dome, at the same time using ballistic missiles, short-range ballistic missile systems, possibly anti-ship missile systems to engage Israeli warships. And then there will be a follow-on strike by Iranian missiles, probably larger in scope in terms of what occurred in terms of the earlier strike. But again, the Israelis are saying, hey, the last one was a freebie. That's on us. The next strike that you launch, we're going to hurt you. And we're going to hurt you in a number of different ways. And we're going to directly come after those who are making the political decisions around this strike. So you the viewer, determine what that will probably look like. But that is what has paused operations right now. Now, that's not to say that military operations will not commence by the Iranians at some point. It's understood that the plan is in place, that the final pieces are being moved into place by the Revolutionary Guards and the Iranian armed forces, and those entities want to go ahead with a military strike. But apparently the Israelis are telling the Iranians that the political leadership of Iran will be in danger if they launch this operation. So we'll see what happens. So that does it for today. We'll continue our coverage and continue to watch what is happening on the ground and bring more coverage as events warrant. Thank you for joining us. As always, have a good day.